Hey, Garage Logic fans, I do a podcast on the Garage Logic Network that comes out every Wednesday and Friday now, twice a week. But here's an important caveat. There is zero logic available in my show, in the formal definition of logic. Of course, life is a yin and yang kind of thing. There's the logic side, and then there's the what the hell side, which needs to get its exercise. So come for the what the hell and stay for the you've got to be kidding me. Mishki, now Wednesdays and Fridays, twice a week.
Searching for a romantic summer getaway? Escape with Rich Girl Summer, the new Audible original from Lily Chu. The exquisitely talented Philippa Sue, returning to narrate her 5th Lily Chu title. This time, Philippa is joined by her real-life husband, Stephen Pasquale. Set in Toronto's wealthy cottage country, aka the Hamptons of Canada, Rich Girl Summer follows the story of Valerie, a down-on-her-luck event planner posing as a socialite's long-lost daughter, while piecing together the secrets surrounding a mysterious family and falling deeper and deeper in love with the impossibly hard-to-read and infuriatingly handsome family assistant, Nico. Caught between pretending to belong and unexpectedly finding where she truly fits in, Valerie learns her summer is about to get far more complicated than she ever planned. She's in over her head and head over heels. Listen to Rich Girl Summer now on Audible. Go to audible.com/richgirlsummer.
This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. With me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I'm doing well. We've had a bit of a schedule change, just a tad bit for this week. So I wanted to bring up this story on yesterday's podcast, but I forgot to bring it up and whatever. So I wanted to bring this up today because there was a pretty big event that was going to happen in Major League Baseball over this last weekend. They were going to attempt to have a game in front of the largest paid crowd in the history of Major League Baseball.
91,032.
At Bristol Motor Speedway. And I remember hearing about this going, well, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting.
It's different, right?
And I remember seeing a drone footage of it coming like on the ground and then rising way up and then coming over there. It was super
and then
cool.
You see the stands.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, all right, this is going to be kind of interesting. And then the day of the event came, and it couldn't have been a bigger disaster.
Well, you know, it's so funny. I did not hear a thing about this. And this is a big story. What happened?
So, okay, here's what happened. The Major League Speedway Classic at Bristol Motor Speedway featuring the Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds was set to take place last Saturday. It was marred by weather-related issues, ultimately leading to a delayed and ultimately resumed game. It was supposed to start on Saturday.
Okay.
I would assume 7 o'clock local time first pitch. Well, it rained basically all day long.
Sure. I don't know if they have lights there, though, so it might have been a day game. But
91,000 people had purchased tickets to come to this game, and they sat around and sat around. And, okay, so the Braves won the game 4-2. The event faced significant challenges with the rain delay before the first pitch, a suspension of play during the very first inning, and logistical problems including food shortages, long lines, and difficulty exiting the venue. I love baseball. I love cool events like this. This would have been my worst nightmare.
Really?
Because there was so many things that were happening on social media of this where you had to basically take a shuttle bus just to get to the event. So this
what I don't get is they have 92,000 people at Bristol all the time.
For racing events and whatnot.
What's the difference?
I just think that it was a different set of hands that were, you know what I mean? Like it's just a different event altogether.
And if people are sitting there all day too, then they're doubling up the amount they drink and food.
For sure.
So all that stuff has to be doubled, maybe.
They basically were selling hot dogs with no buns.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And nachos with no cheese.
Wait, that's anti-American.
I'm telling you, that's how bad that this was. Well, anyway, the game was initially scheduled for Saturday, but a 2-hour and 17-minute rain delay pushed the first pitch until late Saturday night. The game was then suspended after only 1 out in the bottom of the first inning due to rain. And here's why I have a problem with that. The only reason they did that was that way.
No, that counts as a game.
They can officially record that attendance in the record books.
Okay.
So then it was resumed the next day, the next afternoon, with the Braves ultimately winning. The fans experienced significant issues, like I mentioned, including running out of food and drinks at concession stands, the long lines, and difficulty exiting the venue. Some fans reported issues with parking, transportation, and obstructed views. There were also complaints about the handling of tickets for Sunday's game, with some fans unable to sell their own tickets on platforms like StubHub, etc., after the initial postponement. Despite the challenges, the event did break a regular season attendance record. Additionally, some fans enjoyed the unique atmosphere and experience of seeing baseball at a NASCAR track. So the idea itself was pretty cool.
Sure.
But everything else surrounding it was just a nightmare.
To be fair,
if
there wasn't rain, it might have gone out without a hitch.
Might have, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So they kept everybody around. It's very difficult to say, hey, my 92,000 friends, come back tomorrow. And the people are like, oh, I want to sell my tickets. Like, well, you stayed there for that one out. That's the game, baby. You can't sell these tickets off to somebody else. The ticket's been used. Right? You get back in with that ticket, but you can't sell that to somebody else. And that's double dipping.
Then that's just like any other event that, you're always at the mercy of weather. And don't get me wrong. Like I've had to work on planning events before. I've had to work on all things like this. I get it. You're always at the mercy of weather in certain situations, like this one was.
Absolutely.
So I get that. But when you're talking about almost 100,000 people, because you had 91,000 sold tickets. Well, there was probably another 5,000 people working the event because of the magnitude of it. So I did feel bad. But then I also thought, well, you kind of know what you're getting into with the baseball game. Like, that's kind of how it works. But I just thought it was funny about I saw one line and I'm thinking, I don't care if on the end of that line it's a date with Kate Upton.
Sure.
I'm not waiting in this line.
In that line. You know what it is you're used to going to a Twins game where there's 91 people at the game.
So funny you bring that up. I'm actually going to be at the game tomorrow.
For what reason?
This is their first home game since they basically sold half their team.
Okay.
Well, my 10-year-old son played in the state championship game just a couple of weeks ago, and his team is getting honored with a number of other teams at the Twins game on Friday. So, the team bought a block of tickets and we're going there like with all their families and stuff. So it'll be fun, but it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to be at the first game when everyone's going to boo the crap out of the team.
Well, I heard it's a really big thing, too, because they're inviting all the people that get to throw out the first pitch because there's just not that many people.
It will be interesting to see how the fans react.
It's going to be light.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to be real light, although it's supposed to be a nice night tomorrow night, right?
So we'll see.
They did say at Bristol, it hosted a college football game back in 2016.
Oh, I bet that would have been cool.
156,990 people.
Are you kidding
me?
No,
that's a lot of people. So I
suppose because when you're configuring a football field, because I know they had to section off some of the seats for baseball because you wouldn't have been able to watch the game.
You couldn't see behind.
But with football, you don't have to have a backdrop and a batter's eye and all that stuff.
It's all there. You can put somebody 800 yards that way.
That would have been pretty cool to see.
That's a lot of people. It's funny that in this article written by ESPN, they have a one-line throwaway. Bristol hosted a college football game in 2016 that drew 156,000. Who played?
Oh, yeah, right.
Isn't that kind of like, who were the two challengers in that game?
It's Joe's biggest gripe, on GL.
Reporting isn't what it used to be.
When, John will have a news story. Well, he had a news story today about a guy that went 199 miles an hour on the Autobahn and kept reading.
What kind of car?
Kept reading, and I could see the fumes just billowing inside of Joe's head. He goes, what was the bleeping car? And John goes, I'll get to that. Well, John was baiting him because he knows damn well that's what the only thing Joe gives a crap about is
I bet you the answer was, it was a BMW. What BMW?
Well,
which one?
It was funny because when he said, what car was it? And Rook said, a white one.
A white one.
Anyway, but you also had a baseball nugget.
Did I?
I thought we're not going to play that.
Oh.
You had a question for. Okay, I didn't know if that was going to be part of the story.
It's an old story.
Okay, gotcha.
See, the problem is I look at the internet and stuff on the internet gets recycled, and I think it just happened. Then I find out it's from 2014, and everybody knows the story. And this one you knew already.
That happens to the best of us.
I do have other couple stories though. Did you have big stories set up for this one? We didn't do it.
No, go ahead.
Can we talk about? Did you guys talk about on Garage Logic the shutting down of the North Star line?
Oh my God. Well, in fairness to the show today, we had a guest on.
Okay.
And we had tax expert and tax attorney Dan Pilla on the show today.
Nothing like a tax expert.
But my God, some of the numbers he was just throwing out there, we are getting freaking robbed blind, not only in this country, but in this state.
Well, you're going to feel good about this because they're ending this robbing of the North Star line. Okay, so if you're not familiar.
This failed experiment that, when did we launch this thing? Was it 2010?
Launched November of 2009.
Okay.
From Minneapolis to Big Lake, Minnesota.
Okay.
Right, so they're trying to get everybody in the northern suburbs. Construction cost was $320 million, right? $320 million, which actually seems relatively cheap, right? I don't actually know what they had to construct. They might have just said, we're changing the look of the trains because it was an Amtrak track, for all I know. So during peak ridership between 2017 and 2019, 800,000 riders per year, 2,300 a day, used the train.
All right.
That's not a lot, but it's okay, right? It's some people are using it. COVID comes in, just whips them to nothing.
Sure.
On average, they still ran the trains. They had 60 riders per day after COVID.
Wait a minute. They still ran it even though people weren't. Well, we had a government shutdown.
Yeah.
Why were they still running the line?
Don't know. They averaged 60 riders per day.
Oh, my God.
In 2023, ridership went back up to 400 people a day, right? So 400 people a day, from 2,300 down to 400. Here's some things that I want to talk to you about. Annual operating costs, $12 million. With those 400 people a day, that averages $545 per rider per day.
That's insane.
Yes, per rider per day. For every ride, $545. Think of that. That's the subsidy. And I think the ticket's a $5 ticket or a $4 ticket or something.
I was just going to ask, what is it? Something. If I ride the whole way from Big Lake to downtown or vice versa, what is that?
That's just way less than $545. I have no idea what it is.
Okay, I thought maybe it was included in the story.
They brought in $300,000 in revenue. Right, so they sold $300,000 worth of tickets.
So they lost whatever.
A lot. They lost $11.5 million.
And just when you are reading a story like that, I'm sitting here thinking, and again after what Dan Pilla told us in GL earlier today, I'm thinking, okay, this is all the stuff that we know about, that we're seeing. What's the stuff we don't know about?
Sure. So in 2023. During COVID, the ridership, it was a little after COVID. That was the year that they had the 27,000 riders.
Okay.
It was a $116 subsidy. During COVID, it was the $545 subsidy, right? So it was, I can give them COVID. COVID was a whole different thing.
Sure.
But after COVID, $116. In 2017, the best year, the subsidy was $16, right? And you're like, that's not so bad, right? It's a little closer to breaking even, right? The point that this whole story says and what everybody's talking about is they're neglecting to mention the $320 million to spend to build the damn thing.
Wow.
They just say, but it costs us $12 million a year. Well, what about servicing the debt of the $320 million to build the damn thing?
You might as well have just lit that money on fire.
You might as well have thrown it into the trash. But coming in January of 2026, they've revolutionized. They came up with the best possible plan to get these 400 people a day into the city. Can you imagine what it could be?
Oh, helicopters for everybody.
No, not helicopters. Can you think of anything else that they could possibly use?
Another light rail.
They're going to move back to bus service. And you're like, well, morons. The thing that this story pisses me off, I'm glad they're killing it, right? It takes a big man
to admit a mistake.
To say, hey, this didn't work. The problem is they're not admitting a mistake, right? I don't believe they're admitting a mistake. The second part that pisses me off about this is everybody in the world knew this wasn't financially viable.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Back in 2000, if you go back to GL shows back in November of 2009, I'm sure Joe said, that's not going to work.
I can tell you exactly what happened because on that day, whatever day they launched, and the reason I was guessing at it is I remember the day they launched this line. Royce was still doing the morning show on 1500.
Okay.
Joe was still doing the afternoons on 1500. And I worked with both those guys, but I was also on another station on My Talk. And I remember that day specifically because Patrick Royce sent Kenny to be on the first ride.
Okay.
And he was going to call in for it. And I was filling in for Kenny doing traffic on,
really? Okay.
on Royce's morning show.
Too funny.
And I remember them doing that. And so then We had a good chuckle about it, and we all pretended that, well, Kenny didn't even go. He's sitting in his living room, he's on the cell phone pretending that he's on the train.
Yeah,
but I remember
are you kidding?
That afternoon, because Kenny came back to tell the story on GL, and Joe said, well, does anyone realize what a gigantic waste of time and money that this is going to ultimately end up being? And he was 100% right. And just like everybody else that was complaining about it as well.
So $12 million a year.
Yep.
Right? If we went ahead and bought Lincoln Continental limousines, let's say they're $100,000 a piece, right? I should be able to do that math in my head. That's 120 Lincoln Continental limousines, right?
Yep.
So I'm forgetting what I just did it to myself. I just used the small number. I have to use the $320 million
on top of the
right?
$12 million.
So
annually.
So let's take $320 million divided by $100,000. Again, I should be able to do that math in my head. I can't do it. 3,200 units. Obviously, I did. We could have bought 3,200 Lincoln limousines, Cadillac limos. We could have had a team of dudes driving the 60 people to and from Minneapolis. It would have been an infinitely better deal. Oh, and by the way, now that we shut it down, those limousines might have still had some life into them.
Right.
And we could have maybe sold them off.
Resold them.
I go back to when the West 7th, the people fine people in St. Paul, and they want to build this streetcar going down from downtown St. Paul all the way to the airport, right? And it was like making this number up, don't quote me on it, like a $1 billion venture. And I thought, why don't we could be the first relatively major city in the United States that buys a fleet of 500 black limousines. And we say, hey, if you're staying in St. Paul or you're going to a restaurant in St. Paul and you don't live off too far from St. Paul, hit the button and a black limousine will come pick you up and you'll go down to, some restaurant, the St. Paul Grill. You'll go to the Ordway and go watch your play and then get driven home or get driven to the airport or driven back to your hotel. And people would say, this is unbelievable because St. Paul has this limousine service. It would cost us a couple $1 million a year to run, compared to the $1 billion they wanted to waste on a streetcar.
And that's why this is so frustrating, because as we're sitting here talking about this, I'm thinking, what problem were we attempting to solve with this? The answer is there wasn't one.
The best part about the whole thing is they said they believe that 99% of the riders, those 2,000 riders a day when it was kind of at its peak, 99% of them owned a car. It's like, so they're just, I get it, right? You want less car traffic. So if all 2,300 came into the city at once, that would be more traffic, right? It's probably more efficient to put them on a bus. But you're not getting people who don't have cars, right? That's kind of what you need public transit for, is the people who just don't have a car that want to go from Minneapolis to someplace else in Minneapolis because no one wants to go to St. Paul from Minneapolis. So weird, Reavers.
Let's save some money instead of waste some money. So let's get in touch with our friends at North American Banking Company. Their website is, of course, nabankco.com. 6 beautiful Twin Cities locations to serve you, whether it's Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, and Maple Grove. They do offer all of the services as the other big national banks. It doesn't matter whether you're looking to buy a home, maybe finance a new home renovation project, or get that new car that you've been dreaming about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to be able to help you out. They offer all of the same online and mobile banking options as the other banks, but the key difference is you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. And they are also locally owned and operated. And here's why that's important. That means loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities. They are not sent out of state. So this helps you business owners solve problems quickly and expand your business with confidence. They deal with numbers every single day, but you, your family, and your business will never be one of them. So check them out online today. Once again, it's nabankco.com to learn more. It's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender. The Weekly Scramble. We will be right back.
Okay, Reavers, there's another story that I think you need to hear. We're really diving deep into government efficiency and inefficiency today.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? You had it earlier on GL with your guest, and today I just have a really interesting one. I don't know if you've heard, because it hasn't made a bunch of news, but the federal waiver system from the U.S. Department of Agriculture allows states to take certain things out of the SNAP program, right? So you know what SNAP is, right? It's for people that don't have a lot of money, and you get this SNAP card, and now 12 states.
Sorry, hold on. Let me just help you. People who claim they don't have a lot of money.
I'm going to go ahead and just believe them.
Okay.
Right? I'm just going to go ahead and believe them.
I am not, and by the way, I am not here denying that people rely on this that absolutely need it. That's not what I'm saying.
It's like 50 million people in the United States have a SNAP card, right?
But you can't sit here and tell me that there aren't a lot of people that are taking advantage of this system. A lot of people. And
I agree. I agree that there's probably waste, fraud, and abuse in the SNAP program.
Sure.
Here's what's going to make it not as fun for people, right? And I don't want to be punitive to people. If you're hungry and you need help, I want you to have help. But 12 states now have restricted what you can buy with your SNAP card. So you can no longer buy sugary drinks, junk food, desserts, chips, treats. You can't buy any of that with SNAP anymore.
This is just going to be the essentials.
It's really, really an interesting thing.
Does it give you the list of things that are either being removed or what is only approved for purchase?
I think it's a lot of things are approved, but like in Arkansas, starting July 1st, 2026, no soft drinks, no candy, no sugary snacks.
Interesting.
Period. That's it. In Idaho and Utah, no sugary drinks or snacks. Texas, drinks with added sugar or artificial sweeteners, as well as candy. Florida, sodas, candy, treats. You can still buy coffee and water, bottles of water. It is very, very interesting that when this MAHA movement, Make America Healthy, came in, they said, hey, we're feeding some really poor people. And strangely, some of the poorest people among us have the worst cases of obesity-related illnesses. Yep. And it's not, you don't have to be a scientist to see the correlation, right? If you're on SNAP and up to 20%, by the way, 20% of SNAP dollars are used to buy sugary drinks, snacks, and desserts. 20%, right? Wow. I want people to have a sugary snack every once in a while. I do. I think if I'm lucky enough to not be on SNAP, and if you needed SNAP, Reavers, I'd say, you know what? I want to buy you something healthy. Let's get some mac and cheese, and let's get some vegetables, and let's get an apple. Let's do that. And you say, but Mike, I want to spend 20% of it on Mountain Dew. I'm going to say, I don't really want to buy you the Mountain Dew. Right. I want to buy you the essentials because you're hungry, right?
And that's the problem because what's going to happen is the backlash, the hue and cry that's going to come out, whether it's social media or news stories or whatnot, is going to be, look at what this administration continues to deprive the American people of. And I'm thinking, well, no. See, this is a program that is there for you if you need it.
Sure. You don't have to take it.
You don't have to take it. And whether it's this or when everyone was complaining that there's now going to be an hours worked requirement limit for, 20 hours a week to be able to have
20 hours a month.
20 hours a month to get government assistant Medicare. It's just like,
was it a week or a month? I'll have to remember.
Whatever it is, but it's just, we're asking such little of people these days that it just angers me to my core that those that are not taking advantage but are using these programs have the absolute gall to complain if something like if standards get raised just a tad.
It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It really isn't. It's a certain side of the government that says, we want to be everything to you. And you're never going to have a good life, but you're going to have a life. And they want to give you a little bit of money for food. And they want to make sure you can stay home and be not all you can be. Right? I mean, you've heard AOC say, we should have income for people, even if they're not willing to work. Right. Well, if you're not willing to work and you can work, that's unfair. Right? That's unfair. But there's a fairly large fraction of Americans that say, no, people don't have to work. Like we can give them this basic income. Here's some of the stats that I think are really notable. So women have a higher obesity rate. 52% of women that use SNAP are obese, compared to non-participants at 40%.
Wow.
Think of that.
That's stunning.
And I said 50. It was 52%.
Wow.
I mean, that is a huge delta between non-recipients with SNAP. So you can argue that if you're on SNAP, you're like 30% more likely, or 23% or whatever the math is, more likely to be obese than people who aren't on SNAP. That is weird.
Let me give you a stat that absolutely blew my mind. And I know you haven't had the chance to listen to GL because you were walking in literally as I was posting it today. But we had, like I said, we had Dan Pilla on, and he had a number that just absolutely floored me. And it was because the basic question was, and I think you heard the show about Joe saying, well, how come the house that I bought in 1974 for $27,000 and sold for $100,000, whatever year that was, is now listed, at least its value is listed on Zillow for almost $500,000. How does that happen?
Sure.
When $27,000 in 1974 equates to roughly $175 now.
Why is it so different?
So Dan went into this lengthy reasoning about just the diminished value of the American dollar. And he said, Joe, here's what every single person needs to wake up and realize. Every single day that you work, the dollar you make, 50%. So we were in, I think he said 1960. He said basically we had gotten to the point where the tax, what was the word? The tax requirement for the average Joe American citizen was anywhere between 20 to 25%. 25% on the high end,
Sure.
During times of war and things like that, and 20% on the low end. That was about it. And that's federal, state, everything, right? Everything out the door. Right now, that same federal, state, and he goes, and especially if you live in some of these higher tax states like Minnesota, Illinois, California, New York, we're in the top 5 of higher tax states. That tax requirement now, federal, state, is over 50%.
Yes.
Meaning every dollar you make, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting 49 cents of that.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
No,
That's
it's not okay.
And it's not sustainable.
What's really interesting, there is a gold correlation, right?
Yes, the gold standard, yes.
Yeah, and so what I think is kind of neat, and I read this, that through the history of gold, the use of gold, that 1 ounce of gold roughly buys a fine-tailored suit, right? So now it's elevated a little bit more than normal, right? Because gold is a little bit. But over the thousands of years gold has been used, that if you had 1 ounce of gold, you could roughly buy 1 tailored suit. Right? So back 3,000 years ago when gold was 4 cents an ounce, I'm making that number up, 4 cents an ounce. For that 4 cents, you could roughly buy a fine tailored suit. Today, or not too recently, gold was $3,000 an ounce or whatever. You could probably go out and get a fine tailored suit. Well, that dollar, if you went back even 100 years ago, 140 years ago, that dollar that you had that equated to 1 ounce of gold then isn't anywhere near the value, right?
Yep.
So we've been deflated across our value of our money has been deflated totally over hundreds of years. Yet weirdly gold, I'm not saying invest in gold. I'm saying gold has just been the true measure of what the value should be, right? The value should be.
Yeah.
And the moment we got off the gold standard, then we were just printing fiat money. And the nice thing about America, and this I've weirdly studied this kind of a lot.
I was going to say, because you're nailing it right now.
The weird thing that I think is really interesting is when we inflate our currency, when we print money, it doesn't just hurt America, it hurts the entire world. But there's only 300 million Americans. So we feel some of the burden, but so does the rest of the entire world because all business is done in the American currency, in the US dollar. Countries that do inflate their currency but don't do business outside of their country in their dollar get killed, right? That's why you see a bread at $17,000 for a loaf because they just inflated their currency. We have the rest. So some guy in Japan who has a bunch of American dollars and we inflate our currency by 3%, his dollars are worth 3% less.
Yeah.
Thank you, Japanese guy. Thank you, Russian guy. Thank you, German guy. All the people around the world that hold stuff in US dollars, they're feeling it. So we can technically keep printing money and the buying power of our dollar will keep going down, but so will the rest of the world's buying power. And I find that super fascinating. It sucks. It sucks to hear that because I would love to be on the gold standard, but being off the gold standard helped us do some things, I think, too.
You know what doesn't suck?
What's that?
We are nuts. And we are nuts, mn.com. Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. If you're late to the ball game, well, then shame on you. But the We Are Nuts family, they're so fantastic. And you know what? We're actually going to be hanging out with them later today. But it's the Burt boys. Dad, that's Jim. He's known as Mr. Big Nuts and the entire family. They're great people, and they make the best handcrafted snacks right here in Minnesota. And it's just become a revelation. It really has. And I love seeing people posting on the Frat Pack. It is. Yeah. It's absolutely a movement right now. So
Trending.
I was talking to you about camping over these past couple of days with my family, and I brought the 4-pack down with me, and basically I set them down, and the campfire got rolling, and I said, "Well, where is everything?" And they said, "Well, no, these were really good." I'm like, "Well, I was hoping to enjoy some of them."
I wanted one.
And guess what the most popular one was? Of the 4-pack.
Yeah.
Which one do you think was the most popular? 100%.
Yeah.
The maple bourbon toffee almonds are so fantastic.
Do you eat the spicy peanuts, the hot peanuts?
I didn't think I'd like them. They're really good.
They're very hot.
But what I like to do,
I take a handful of them, and then I'm like, oh, I think either I'm a Minnesota Heat guy, and I very
Yes, you
well
are.
could just be that
Yes.
guy, but I find them spicy.
But you have to do this. Take a handful of those, take a handful of the regular toffee peanuts,
Okay.
and then take a handful of the cinnamon.
Oh, and mix them
And
up.
then you mix them up, and it gets you that sweet and heat. It's really, really good.
Okay. That's a good idea for them, by the way.
Yeah.
They should come out with that.
The multi-pack, or the, what would you call it? The mix pack.
Mix and match. And don't tell anybody what it is.
No.
And put a little thing there
Like a
saying,
question
hopefully
mark.
you're not allergic. So maybe that's not a great idea.
But you can stop in any one of your Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores locations and search that end cap for the We Are Nuts selection. You can also see them at Max Hardware. Kowalski's, Lunds and Byerly's carry them. Or, you know what? Maybe you're in Phoenix and you think, well, I want some nuts.
I want to try it.
Go to wearenutsmn.com and place your order. That's how easy it is. The Hokey Pokey caramel corn, by the way, are so good.
That's so good.
And the jumbo cashews are a big hit, and I never bring those anywhere. Those are for me. Those stay at my house.
Yeah, those
I
are
ain't
big.
I ain't sharing those. Ain't no chance. Anyway, wearenutsmn.com. And please mention that you heard them right here on the Weekly Scramble podcast.
Reavers, I do want to talk. I know we're doing a lot of stats, but I want to give you one more stat that I find really interesting. So it's comparing children whose families are on SNAP compared to children that are not on SNAP.
Oh, okay.
And so if you are a child and you are on SNAP, you have a 28% of being at risk for additional health risks, serious additional health risks, very high or extremely high disease risk. 26% versus if you're not on SNAP, you have an 8% risk.
Really?
It's almost 3 times. It's over 3 times more.
Wow.
That you have a risk for, diabetes, kidney failure, obesity, all these. Think of that. Our children that are the ones that are having the biggest struggle eating well because some states aren't stopping this sugary snacks, sugar snacks, drinks, by far the most amount of money, 9% of all SNAP dollars, 9% of all SNAP dollars go to sugar sodas.
Wow.
Think of that, 9%. If we just cut that off, SNAP would go down by 10%, right? We could hypothetically take 10% off the budget. We're not ever going to do that. Or people could have 10% more buying power to buy something healthy. If we said, you can still buy sodas. You just got to do it on your own money, right? And I was thinking about this. I know people give Trump a bunch of shit. They know he's a sellout and they know he's an a-hole. They know all that stuff. But he must not be beholden to the big snack companies. He must not have a best friend that owns Pepsi.
Sure.
He must not have a best friend that owns Frito-Lay. He must not have those guys because this is going to really... Ozempic is already hurting them because people aren't eating these things as much, right? Like a meaningful amount of people are on Ozempic. But now if they take this away and 10% of those $420 million a day, I think it is on SNAP, that's what we spend on SNAP. If $420 million, that means $40 million a day that was going to buy Coca-Cola. If that goes away, that's some big numbers for Coke companies. So I don't know. Maybe someone's going to tell me that, but he owns, his best friend owns a beef jerky company and they still allow beef jerky, which I think is actually a true story, right?
Okay.
They still allow, but beef jerky is a lot of protein. That's probably better than sugary sodas for you, right? Wow. I find it so... Let me ask you this, Reavers.
Go ahead.
If you are paying for somebody to do something, do you get to pick what they do?
If I'm paying, rephrase it.
If you said
no, but rephrase it exactly how you said.
So if you are paying for someone, for their life, do you get a say in what they do?
Well, if it's one of my kids, yeah, absolutely.
Well, so say your tax dollars. So let's say it was a direct thing. You were helping a family that was starving to death.
Sure.
And you said, hey, I'm going to give you $500 a month to go get food. Would you say, but you just bought 12 packs of Mountain Dew? That's not what I meant. Do you feel like you'd be morally justified to be able to do that?
If we go down that road, there's a whole bunch of things I don't want the government spending money on.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think you want the government spending some money on making sure people don't starve to death.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I said this at the onset of this discussion. Like, I get that this is a program that people actually need it, and people take that role responsibly. They use the program responsibly.
Sure.
I have no doubt that there are many, many families out there that do that very thing. The problem is it doesn't matter what walk of life. It doesn't matter what section of society. There are always going to be people who take advantage of government-related systems.
Sure.
It's always happened, and it always will happen.
Yeah, I'm not even considering people taking advantage of it. If you go buy Coke, I'd buy Coke too. I buy Coke. I do it. I buy chips. I buy Doritos. I love Doritos.
Sure.
I shouldn't eat Doritos, but I eat them all the time. But what my point is, and I'm trying to see where you fall on this, is if you gave me money to go out and buy stuff and I was broke, do you feel like you should be able to say, hey, Mike, don't buy a bunch of shit. Don't buy a bunch of crap. Oh my God, you came back with Nerds and Hershey bars, and like I wanted you to come back with apples or a steak or bologna and bread or whatever. And I think there's a big portion of society who would say it's none of your business what they buy. But then I would, on the inverse, say, well, it's none of my business to give them the money to go buy it then.
Right. I didn't ask. This was money taken from me.
This was money that
I didn't volunteer up.
This isn't voluntary, right? And it's a great point. You just made a great point. If it was voluntary, I would never, like if I said, hey, there's a charity and people are starving, I need to give them money. And they said, what we do is we go out and buy Mountain Dew for everybody. I'd be like, that's not the charity I'm giving for. And if the next charity said, hey, we want to buy fruits and vegetables so kids can get the best start, that's the charity I'd want to give to. So it's kind of a conundrum. But hearing these stats, I hope, how long do you think it's going to be before Minnesota says, hey, folks, everyone on Snap, no more Coca-Cola, no more snacks.
Oh, that'll never happen.
It will never happen.
Nope.
How sad. So in order for us to feel good about ourselves, we're going to let kids develop diabetes at 3 times the rate that normal children would.
Do you know why that won't happen?
Normal children that aren't on SNAP.
Here's what's going to happen once people start getting wind that Minnesota. We're going to have more people that are going to come here and take advantage of that program.
I want my snacks. I'm going to go get my SNAP from Minnesota.
Correct.
I never even thought about that. Reavers, that's why you're a good thinker. Okay, I have a brain teaser for you because you're so smart.
All right,
because you just came up with a brilliant thing.
Okay.
What weighs more, a gallon of water or a gallon of butane?
Well, I would guess that they probably weigh the same.
No.
Okay.
It's a gallon of water because butane is just a little lighter fluid. Reavers, you are the best.
Wowzers. Please do us a favor, rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. It helps other people find the show, and it really, truly does help us out as well. And we truly appreciate each and every one of you listening to the show. His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again next time. Until then, cheers.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.